All right, thank you to the members of the College Career and Life Readiness Committee, and thank you, Eric, for joining us. We should probably be able to get you out of here pretty quickly. Um, so we will start with that item. You have all had an opportunity to review the legacy admissions draft resolution and give input. As far as I know, there's no outstanding comments or questions that have not been addressed, but I will open it. Representative Best and Representative Patterson, if there's anything that you want to ask Representative Goulet while he is here.
If I may, Representative Henderson, could I
Sure.
start by I wanted to thank you for your review of it, your leadership of this committee, and then also for Kathleen for her hard work on making some great improvements to the language. I just want to thank you for that, Kathleen. There is one issue that Representative Patterson and I were speaking about, and I think it's something that shouldn't stop it from moving forward today, but I think is merits further discussion at the next working session when we get it up to the full level. And working with the advocates on this issue, they had initially suggested that we specifically in our language exempt HBCUs from this requirement. We talked about that and kind of some of the pros and cons of it, how it might undercut our argument overall, but then potentially thinking that we could reach a compromise where we would allow some percentage of legacy admissions if a school was servicing a certain number of students who are getting enrolled with Pell Grants, so lower income students. So that way we would allow schools who make a effort to have a diverse student population, to recruit and retain students from backgrounds where they may be disadvantaged, that they would be able to then pursue legacy admissions. I thought that made sense for discussion. I can see both sides to the argument. Right now, we stay silent on it, so it's not in the resolution. But I think the exception is worth considering and worth debating, with the full board. And I'm interested in people's thoughts on it. I thought it might be a good compromise on the issue. So I definitely would support the resolution today, but think we should weigh that issue when we get to the full board and think it through. And it could be possibly then amended, after the working session to include an exception for colleges and universities that enroll a certain number of students with Pell Grants.
Is there a way that you could maybe put that in a comment or somehow like briefly explain that language so that when we share it with the full board ahead of the working session, that they'll have that ahead of time to consider?
Yeah,
So
I'd
that
be
it's
glad
not
to.
just new at the discussion.
Yeah, if it would be okay with you, Representative Henderson, if I could share then with the members of this committee, maybe some draft language, and we could look through that to discuss and reach consensus on it. I had the opportunity to talk with Representative Patterson earlier today, just to brainstorm the thoughts on this. And, I would be glad to reach out to both of you with your ideas and feedback. And then maybe working with Kathleen, we could get a potential amendment ready for the board to consider. And, I see both sides to it. I think it's definitely merits discussion, though, before the full board and to think whether we should include it or not.
Yeah, my concern is just to make sure that the full board has something ahead of the working session to consider. So I think that would be fine.
Well, what timeline, if we could ask our staff, what timeline would be best, to send, for me to kind of send some draft language to you, Kathleen, so we could then share it with the chair of the committee and the members?
Well, the working session is next week, so we're a little bit tight. We're supposed to be posting the materials for the working session for everybody to review, potentially over the weekend, if that's when you want to be doing it tonight. So I was going to send Jen whatever we had to post. But if we wanted to bring, I think adding a comment would be a good compromise and potentially like bringing the language to the working session. So if you wanted to discuss it over the weekend, sort of among this group and have it ready for Wednesday, but then post what we have with a comment saying like language forthcoming, that might be the move.
Yeah, I think if we could just post some, like add a comment, like if you could just right now pull that document up and add what you just said, in a concise comment, that would at least give members something to consider, starting today.
And I can get, by Monday, get a copy of it. It'd probably just be 1 or 2 sentences, but get a copy to everyone on the committee to review, just so we can hopefully then, with you as the chair of the committee, reach some consensus on the language, should we choose to include it. I'm not saying we should. I think I see both sides to it, but if we do choose to move forward, at least have some draft language that would kind of settle on the percent of Pell Grants we would be looking at. And the number that was suggested was maybe 30 to 35%, but I'd really want to make sure we, hit the right number on that, so we were including the right schools with the exception.
Yeah, let's do that. Any other comments or questions on the draft resolution?
I'm still not sure. Oh, go ahead, Dr. Patterson.
I was just going to say, and I appreciate Representative Goulet's conversation earlier. Just give you guys a little bit of background on that. I basically just used the example of my daughter, and we were basically focused on, I think a lot of people are in agreement with, we're talking about Ivy League schools, that there shouldn't be legacy preferences, and now that they've done away with affirmative action and things like that, right? Because we want to make sure that there's opportunities for every person to get into a high quality college or college of their preference. But then as we got more into the HBCU aspects of it, and I've been hearing about this for quite some time, we'll talk about the legacy preference from college track and other groups. So the subject matter is not new to me. But for me, given that exempted piece of use, it's not that much different, because like I said, I hear the argument and everything like that, and I'm starting to lean like just legacies in general, for the simple fact that my daughter, she had to apply. She's the first, person applying to college. I was, of course, I did some work and stuff like that, but she didn't have a legacy. I hadn't went to the schools that she had went to at the HBCU schools and stuff like that. And even though that may hurt some of the people that I know that have preferences at HBCUs and stuff like that for legacy, I think every kid, regardless of whatever, should have that opportunity, and we shouldn't be taking opportunities from them because the color of their skin, and they went to the HBCU, that we lessen the opportunities for those kids. So I continue to think about it. I'm no way decided on it totally. I'm still listening, as I told Representative Goulet, but I'm trying to provide opportunity for a person starting high school to get into the school of their choice, not lessen the number of opportunities that they have at that particular school. I see your Representative Best.
Yeah, I think it's solid enough to move to the out of committee. I'm not sure where I stand on it, to be honest, right now. And I think it was something that was echoed before. Many Black families that I know are, first or second generation. And so, this is the first time that they can actually benefit from legacy admissions. And so the thought process is, why eliminate it now as soon as, we could start to benefit from it as well. So I just don't know where I stand, but I think it is good enough to go to the group as a whole. And so I don't think I have any argument for it to leave committee.
Right, and I do expect there will be some more debate among the whole board, not only about the possible amendment, but the whole thing. But I agree. I think we can bring this to the whole board. So I'll ask that we vote now on voting it out of committee. And Kathleen, I don't know how we need to do that.
I don't think we have an official way, so you could do a roll call, or you could just ask for ayes and nays. I think there's few enough that it probably doesn't really make a difference.
And this would still have to be approved by the whole, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're just referring it to the rest of the board.
Yeah, this is just
Okay.
to bring it to the full board. So Representative Best, are you in favor of bringing this
Aye.
draft to the full board?
Aye.
And Dr. Patterson?
Aye.
And I will also vote aye. So we can bring it to the working session, and Representative Goulet, if you would just kind of go ahead and put something in a comment in the document to prime everyone for the discussion about the Pell Grant exemption.
If it's all right with you, since we want to make sure, Kathleen, do you mind just putting a quick comment in that we're going to be doing that? Because I think you have the most recent version of it.
I can do it when I send it to Jen.
Okay, all right. If you don't
Yeah.
mind, I really appreciate it. But I'll work on the language for the amendment, and I just want to thank you all for your support and wish you a very happy weekend. And if you need me, just give me a call over the weekend. And
All
if
right,
not,
thank you.
if not, I'll be reaching out to all of you to discuss the Palisades Parade and inviting you to join us there. Even though I know you have a competing parade in Ward 6, Representative Best, but the Ward 3 one is always spectacular. Just in case you want to come.
You guys make an at-large person have to pick, where he's going to be and where he spends his time. So very difficult.
Well, I
Of course,
mean,
Ward 6, of course.
yeah, you can in theory make it to both, but it's always a mad dash. So I mean, I just we got hot dogs, watermelon, and a lot of children with bags waiting for candy. So come on out if you want to join us, but we will understand if you choose Ward 6 as well. Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you, Representative Goulet. And we will move now to graduation requirements. So at our last working session, we got kind of our first update directly from Aussie on the work that they've been doing. And given the timeline that they shared, I felt we needed to adjust a little bit since they are further along on putting together the draft graduate profile. So they said they would share that with us, I believe, in August. And so I think that we should do some engagement in response to the draft that they produce to make sure that we are both informing and listening to our communities about what that profile looks like. But I also think, given the timeline, which they shared that they would be drafting graduation requirements in early 2025, I would like for us to go ahead and get started in doing some deeper dive engagement on the elements of graduate requirements that may come up that would be especially I don't know if controversial is the right word, but that we would need to weigh thoroughly to make decisions on. And so what I want to propose at this point is that we start to identify what those things might be and begin to plan things like, or propose some panels on some of those major questions. So for example, I think that one thing that might come up would be whether there should be a graduation requirement that students take a computer science course. And computer science might not be the best word. Maybe there's some intersection there with the AI topic. Another one would be whether financial literacy should be a required course. And then just other issues like that that may come up, just so that we give ourselves enough time to do a more thorough investigation of each of those topics. So I'm open to your feedback on that line of attack. Any thoughts or any other ideas of topics that we might want to make sure that we investigate more thoroughly? I think another one would be whether we want to require FAFSA for all students.
I know that we had talked briefly last year. Liv had brought it up and then brought it up again when she testified in January. Was that when she was here? But about the IEP certificates of completion, and whether that is something we still want to have or want to do differently. And then the past 2 times we had task forces both recommended that there be some sort of way for students to essentially receive credit through taking a test in math or a foreign language. I think the intention sort of being like, if I, outside on my own time, wanted to take a language that wasn't offered at my school, I would be able to use that to get credit for foreign language for high school if I passed an assessment. And both times that was recommended and neither time it was regulated. So something we don't currently have. And I know some of the people who were involved in that last time are likely going to show up and be vocal about it again. And that was something like when I was in high school in Ohio, we had something similar where you didn't get credit, but you had the credit waived for gym if you could get like, because I did dance on my own outside. And so I didn't have to take high school gym. I could have my dance teacher sign off on it. But then I didn't get that credit. And so I think there's a question there about they're calling it sort of like mastery based credit. People are going to bring it up.
Yeah, so do please add that to the list of things we can look into more deeply. And then I think maybe, I don't know how much competition we'll have for, signing up for panels, but I think we should decide among us which of those topics we might have a panel on at a public meeting. Any other thoughts, representatives?
No, I don't.
If you think of something, you don't have to just right now.
We'll
Yeah,
definitely send it over, Kevin.
yeah, I'll facilitate a little more opportunity to add to that list and communicate about that. We're at a bit of a disadvantage not having Representative Chang here, but he did share a draft proposal for a literacy convening. And I trust that you have had opportunity to look at that and ask if there are any other questions that you might have with the overarching question of, do you think we can bring this proposal to the full board? I think there are a few questions.
Talk to him about it so I could potentially answer questions if people have them. Or we could, write them down for later.
Yeah, so I had the question about his vision for partnerships. Like he had mentioned Washington Teachers Union, Aussie, maybe some others. And I wasn't clear on what that would look like and what exactly we would be asking them to contribute.
Yeah, I think it depends a little bit on which one. I think he would like Aussie to be involved potentially as like a partner in organizing it. That's a less easy ask than it might have been at a different time when they're not transitioning. But they're the ones who are going to be implementing a lot of these new things. And so having them be there to be a part of those conversations, I think is something that he was wanting. And I think the Washington Teachers Union my understanding is he's been talking to some of them about this, especially around helping to like get in contact with teachers and kind of how this be sort of an opportunity with them to make sure that all of these teachers are aware of this change that's happening. And I know that there's some things that might make an event more interesting that would not be approved on a P card that in the WTU might be able to do, or like local literacy organizations. Because they're sort of limited in terms of like entertainment and food, what we can get approved. And so I think it is a little bit different for some.
Okay, what would be the way for us to bring this to the board? Would we raise this first as like new business? We want to do this?
Yes. So if we feel good about the committee's feedback on this, we can talk about it at the working session. So I think it'll be in new business, sort of like next to the resolution.
Okay.
So Jen's aware that we're potentially going to be moving this out of the committee.
All right. Let's plan on bringing this to the next working session as new business, unless there's any objection from the other reps.
Not for me. Do we have to take a vote on that, Kathleen, like we did the last one?
Yes, and we can just vote on it as is, or we can vote and say, you know, we need Alistair to kind of clarify a little bit what he means for the partners before Wednesday. By voting on it, I think would be.
I think since this isn't a resolution, maybe the exact language isn't as critical. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
But is everyone's in favor of moving the idea to the whole?
Say so moved and say aye.
So moved. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We will bring that to the next working session. Thank you. Next up, our AI outreach update. Representative Best, how is that going? How can we support you? Like, what do you need from us to support you on that?
Yeah, so I have reached out to OSSI. I've reached out to the DME. I've reached out to DCPS, and as well as the charter school board. I have only heard back at this moment from the DME, who is excited to discuss. So we're trying to find a date right now. So potentially a follow-up. I'm going to follow up again, and maybe, you know, it doesn't hurt if we get a follow-up from you all as well, so that they know that this is something that we're serious about. I can share the email that I sent if you want to change it up a bit, and we can go from there. Dr. Patterson, I see you have a question.
Yes. My question is more concerned with the other board, so to speak. The PCSB, you said you reached out to them. May I ask who you spoke with, or did you just reach out in general?
I have to go back through my emails.
Because I think the best person to talk to start kind of following up. And there's members, of course, that are there that we know. But to start getting it to Dr. Walker Davis's attention, so to speak, it would be Ms. Bolden, Mika Bolden. And I would be more than happy to facilitate that meeting.
Perfect. I will send you the email that I sent to them when I get to my other computer.
Okay.
Thank you.
I can do that after this. Ben forwarded them to me.
Oh, okay, perfect. Thanks. And so yeah, just follow-ups is basically what I would like to have. I know it's a busy time right now, so people aren't always quick to get back to us, but maybe early next week. follow up early next week.
I know
I'm
Andrew
s-
Gall is out of office until the 4th, so that might be a little part of the
That could be it.
delay. Yeah. So I would maybe wait on Aussie, and I know also during the working session, you'll be discussing some of the things that we want to hear about more from Aussie as part of like a transition plan, and so we can put AI on that
Okay,
list.
that makes sense.
But everyone else, I would say fair game.
Cool. Thank you.
And I'm sorry if I missed this. Did you say that you have a date to talk to DME?
No, we're working on a date right
Okay.
now. So they responded, well, Paul Kine responded, and he asked if we could find some time with his assistant.
Okay, good. Thank you.
And congratulations on that one too. That's a big one. If he responded, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He definitely seemed eager to talk. So I'm looking forward to it.
Okay.
yeah, thanks for keeping this moving and just let us know, as you continue, just let us know how we can help.
Okay.
But we'll start definitely on the follow through, and thank you, Representative Patterson, for what you can do with the Public Charter School Board. All right, I think we can move now on to the math panel. And we kind of briefly communicated. I don't know if communication might be too strong, but we did some head nods and that we need to move forward. Representative Best, any thoughts on what you want to see in a resolution?
Say that one more time.
What would you like to see in a resolution? I can tell you that I'm thinking sort of pulling out the common threads that we had from all of our expert witnesses. There was quite a bit of reinforcement of certain things, and just wondering what your thoughts are on like what you would like to see us be calling for in a resolution.
Yeah. It's a good point. I think one of the things, I think the main takeaways is that I have is that I don't think we need the working group. I think that there seems to be a good amount of expertise already taking place. I would like, and I think this is already happening, but I would like for us to have at least a representative at the table, which I believe you are also part of the representation that's working with one of the groups that was mentioned during the testimonies from
The Ed Collaborative.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think I'd like to see us take the information that we've learned from the Ed Collaborative, or take their findings and find a way to share those findings and see what we could do to implement it. So as far as a tangible response right now, I think I'd have to look over some of the responses again, the same way you just shared, and then we can move forward. But until then, I don't know what I have that I want to put in right now, other than I do want to take out the working group component.
Okay. And Kathleen, I believe you've been working on a brief based on that panel. I think that we could use that as a starting point for what we want to elevate in the resolution.
Yes. That will be shared for ahead of the working session. I sent it. I mean, it might be up now. I don't know. I sent it to Jovan. We always have the debrief after the next working session. So
Okay.
hold out what seems like sort of key themes to me.
Yeah.
Build on.
So I'd like to set a goal for us, and I can take lead on this, to be drafting a resolution based on that, and then I'll work probably with you first, Representative Best, on kind of what we want that resolution to look like, so that we can have a draft for our next committee meeting. I'm not 100% sure that it can, move in the next month, but at least to have something for us to respond to and talk about at the next meeting.
Okay. We'll find some time to link after this.
Sure.
Thank
And I'll try to have something substantive that you can look at also before we talk.
Sounds good.
And I think the last item for us is whether we want to meet in December. Do you all have strong feelings about whether we should meet in December? I think if we do meet in December, I would suggest that it not be, that it not be like December 28th.
Right.
The office will be closed.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm indifferent. I'll lean with whatever the team says. I'll go with whatever the team says.
Okay. Dr. Patterson, do you have strong feelings?
I do not. I'm kind of like in the same way. I'm going to defer to you as the chair and follow your lead.
Okay, so I think we can not meet in December, unless I can't at this moment can't foresee anything that would be critical for us to get done in that month. So I'm gonna suggest that we skip the December meeting.
I'm in
But we will
agreement.
keep
We
our
could
work.
also, we can decide up through, into November, and then we can say no for now, and then if later something comes up,
Okay.
plenty of time to-
Yeah, I'd say let's plan on no. If something really urgent comes up, then
And
we'll.
I appreciate that because I don't think, unlike in past years, like we were passing something that kind of like we're going into the next meeting where we were going to like beginning of January. We did social studies of last year, so it's kind of like important that we met and stuff like that. That we had those meetings in September. But I don't foresee anything. We have the graduation profiles, but I don't know if that'll be pressing at that particular time. So if we don't have anything to that nature, Kathleen and committee, I don't see us needing to meet because we won't have anything pressing in January.
Right. Yeah. As far as we know, we don't.
Well,
So-
I won't say hopefully that we know of.
Yeah. All right. Any other items of new business anyone wants to raise?
I'm good.
Okay. Kathleen, do you have a good sense of our next steps on the various topics?
Yes.
Okay.
I will send out follow-ups. I don't think there are that many, but I've been taking notes. And the rest of the meetings for the year, barring potentially December, are noticed and should be on your calendar. So we should be all set.
All right, great, thanks. I think we do have a couple action items. And I'm thankful that we're moving all this work along. So thank you all and have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too.